Hello, Monter.
Hello.
How are
Long
you?
journey for you. Fine, not so
Long
bad, but
journey. Yes, but it is very
congratulations
enjoyable
for
because I am also learning more about each course and
correct.
more about the details. Monter, let's start with your background. How you are engaged with the European entrepreneurial ecosystem. What is your role at the F Station, which is the biggest uh, incubation center in Europe, in France, and then we talk more about the startup assessor course. Congratulations, the first registration to the school came to your course from Panama. So you have already a registered student. But she is not here now. I don't see her name, Sandra. So please tell us a little bit about yourself. Then we chat about the course.
Thank you. Thank you for this excellent occasion to first of all introduce myself, and then I will go deeper in details about the course. My name is Mander Khanfir. I'm engineer by education, entrepreneur by vocation, and investor by conviction. And I started my career as an engineer in 1990, so 30 years ago. And I get the chance during 10 years to work in microelectronic industry and chemical industry. And I was involved in many innovative projects. And I have even a patent on my name, in the electronic sector. So that's how it started. And in 2000, I entered the digital era with a startup I co-founded, which was disappeared 2 years later, but it was a very nice experience. And from there, I get my 10 years of entrepreneurship. So I was involved in many, many initiatives and startups until 2010, where I started working on the ecosystem. I understood that you cannot succeed if the ecosystem is not ready. There is two combination of two success factors: the idea of the startup, the business model, but also the capacity of the business model to grow up in some, say, friendly environment. And from there, I switched, but in fact, I remained also entrepreneur, but I took the hat of impact investor. So I started to build ecosystem, and I did that experience in Tunisia, so in Africa, where I launched the first business angel network, namely Carthage Business Angels, in 2010. And from there, we set up the first business incubator, the first seed fund, and many, many initiatives around the alternative finance and so on. Now, since 3 years, I'm advisor at Station F, which is the startup campus, one of the biggest in the world, and obviously the biggest in Europe. And from there, I'm helping startups to enter what we call the future industry. So we are in a specific department, accelerating future startups dealing or focusing on the future industry. And I screened a lot of cases. More than 1,000 cases have been screened by myself during these last 10 years. And from there, I wrote a book trying to share my knowledge. This ebook is free, of course, and you can find it with the documentation of my course. And it's talking about the DNA code of a startup. So the business model is the DNA code of a startup. And if you learn how to decrypt this DNA code and how to build this DNA code, you can be a very successful entrepreneur, but you can also be a very successful investor, which are both important actors of the innovation ecosystem.
I think, Monter, your course is really very important because this is the first course in the world only aiming to increase the capability and competency of startup evaluators, startup assessors. So it is a certified startup assessor course. Why it is important? Because in practice, for example, I see that banks, startups don't enjoy visiting banks. Why? Because banks don't understand their language. Banks, financial institutions, when they are visited by a startup co-founder for finance, they invite them to present their the current 3 years Excel sheets reports. But startup mindset, they are not interested in the past. They are interested in the future.
Sure.
But financial institutions are interested in the past, not the future, to give a decision about the future. This is the first, problem of financial institutions. But financial institutions are trying to understand the dynamics of startup economy. They want to speak the same language and they are trying to find a way. I think this course is also very good, a good opportunity for executives, for staff of financial institutions, because they will be able to start understand the dynamics of startups, and they will also, I think, increase their ratio in the startup economy as a bank or as a financial institution, whatever. On the other hand, the consulting companies like Deloitte, like PwC, like Ernst & Young, or for all consulting companies, they are also trying to understand what is happening in the startup economy, and they don't know how to understand the numbers of startups. And so I think it will be good for these consulting companies also to benefit from this course, startup assessment course. I think it is very important for them.
For sure.
Also,
you're right.
Yeah, please.
You're right, Baibars. You're totally right. The divergence is the points you mentioned. First of all, the language between the entrepreneurs and the investors, there is a gap, a big gap. So this course could help to bridge the gaps and to give a vocabulary that will be easy to understand for both sides. And so the concepts should be clarified. And this is what I am aiming through this course. And the other maybe point behind what you said is that the investment decision for decades and even centuries was based on business plans. So a startup could show a very nice business plan, but at the end of the journey will fail. So, and here you see that there is a divergence on the projections and the reality. What is happening in the true life is that the startup is just looking for a sustainable and scalable and profitable business model, which is not mentioned clearly in the business plan. You cannot say, I will make a business plan and I will predict the pivoting. So how to add to the business plan, to financial reports, or financial models, another report looking to the DNA, the soundness of the business model of the startup. And it's an art. And maybe if you allow me, I have a short video of 2 minutes. I can just display it now, and then I can enter in details in the course curriculum. Okay? With your permission, Baibars.
Yes, please.
You see my screen?
Yes.
Assessing business models is an art that business angels have to master when they are screening investment opportunities. The objective of this certificate is to professionalize startup assessment. It will grant the best participants
that will show outstanding capacity in understanding and evaluating the soundness of a business model and its potential impact in the market. The Certified Startup Assessor certification is an outstanding training curriculum of WBAF Business School. It will enable you to master the art of startup assessment with an exclusive methodology known under the name of Mudir Cards that is described in my ebook, The Startup Business Model Design and Implementation. This program includes a mix of online and offline courses, in addition to role-playing workshops, hands-on exercises, and case studies. The digital toolbox will be presented to the future certified startup assessors to be used in assignments requesting business models analysis and evaluation. With this certification, you will also have credentials in mentoring entrepreneurs and in assisting startups in their business development and fundraising strategies. If you are a business angel, a VC, a mentor, a coach, or a business incubator and accelerator manager, this certification is for you. I will be happy to see you joining this course.
Well,
great. Yeah, it's a very, very good wrap up. By the way,
teaser.
Yeah, it is very good. Monter, by the way, you know, there are many business plan competitions around the world. I mean, even from the high schools to universities to companies, business plan competitions are now very, and there are some entrepreneurs who are continuously joining the business plan competitions and raising finance from these competitions. And these competitions are inviting 5 or 10 jury members to vote. And these votes are very important because startups are awarded according to these votes. I think certified startup assessor course will be very instrumental to find good, knowledgeable jury members. So WBAF is now going to the Corporate Governance Center will establish a department, the Certified Startup Assessors Department, to recruit your graduates as professional jury members and promote them to all business plan competitions around the world in case they need professional decision makers. Because these decisions will really change the destiny of startups joining these business plan competitions. And we believe we shouldn't leave the floor to random decision makers. We should bring a good discipline to this jury membership, and this will be the contribution of the business school through your course program.
For sure. The Certified Startup Assessor course is designed to help professionals who are in a position to assess the soundness of a business model and its impact or expected impact in the marketplace. And it's useful for the entrepreneurs and investors, both sides. So, of course, if you are a judge in a competition, you can do it, let's say, intuitively by just checking some boxes or answering some questions, usually 10 or 20 questions about the pitch. But you are not screening in details all the strategic information that is produced or used by the startup. And that's why we will rely in our methodology on a tool called Mudir Cards, which is a platform where we can put all the data concerning the startup, of course, the environment of the startup, but also internal processes and business processes running in the startup, in order to see clearly its capability to grow and to make, let's say, to hit success, to make a sustainable growth.
Yeah.
So,
could
yes,
you please give more detail about the Montier card system, because I think it will be very instrumental for participants to learn how to use it.
Right. First of all, the course will start giving a conceptual framework for the startup assessment, okay, methodology. And I will introduce a model, a specific model of a business, what we call the startup DNA. And we will see the components of this model. And from there, we will start collecting the data required to qualify the soundness and the relevance and different, let's say, proofs that what we have in our hands for the startup is sustainable. So that's why the first course, the first module, will start with what you call the startup norm and extracting startup DNA, which is in fact the pillars of the Montier cards methodology. This is a toolbox and it's online. People can, from now, if they are interested to see how it works, just enter montiercards.com and they will have an idea about how it works. Now, in the module number two, I will introduce the requirements for a proof of relevance. So how the startup intend to capture value in its ecosystem. And from there, how it will build and connect capabilities. Because the startup, when it is young, it could either build its own capability or connect to existing capabilities. And this is also very exclusive methodology and with the specific tools that will be disclosed during this module 2 to reach the module 3, which is about the innovation process. It's not only having a value proposition and some, let's say, capability that we will beat success. We have to prove that the startup has the capacity to innovate every time and during, let's say, it's all the life of the startup. So we have to apprehend what you call the leverages that the startup will develop to improve this innovation process. If it is formally documented, if the key people or the key person working on this process are using some specific tools. So you see, we go really in details, okay? And of course, this cannot be done if we don't have access to the information. That's why when we assess a startup, we need to have direct contact with the founders or at least people working in the company. To arrive to the module 4, which is assessing the marketing strategy. And here, this is commonly checking the positioning of the startup. So we have to check the environment of the startup, the market, what are the forces, different forces existing in the market, and also the marketing mix strategy of the startup. Usually, a startup has to implement not only 4 or 5 or 6, it have to implement 8 Ps. And I would describe these 8 Ps in that module. And the module 5 is about the funding strategy. Of course, if you have a commercial strategy, you need an investment plan, and this investment plan should be covered by funds. And from there, this is the proof of scalability. And during that module, I will explain how we map the risk and how we prepare, let's say, a convincing financial plan and funding strategy. The courses are also implemented through workshops, interactive workshops, where each participant have to prepare a research paper on a business case. So the participants will be invited to select a case, a business case, and to work on it in two ways. First of all, as a research paper. This is a kind of report. So that's very important because an assessor in his, let's say, in the practice, he will have to produce reports. So we have to work on the capacity of participants to write down consistent reports. But in the workshop number 2, we will also help the assessor to pitch this report and under a specific format, which will be, you know, like a pitch session for startuppers. It will be pitching the business case to judges, and it could be the same, you know, situation. It's a role playing, you know, like in a advisory board or investment board. You have to convince, you have to defend, you have to make the defense of your report and the defense of the startup to obtain the investment decision. And of course, we have different interactive workshops and lectures where we need to put in situation all the participants and help them to learn from each others. It's not only from the lecturer to the participants, but also participants will have also to interfere their views and check from and learn from each others.
Yes, I am now sharing the document. I think everybody can visit the startup assessor course document in the WBA Business Schools page. Go to course contents, please, and then you can download this. Who is this course for? The basics. And what about the modules? And I think it will be very useful. Yeah, I think this is what you have mentioned, isn't it? The conceptual framework for startup assessment, the module 1, and evaluating startup capability, module 2, mastering innovation process, assessing marketing strategies, assessing funding strategies. Then the workshops are starting, preparing a research paper on a business case, readiness for pitching the business case, feedback from the peers, individual tutorials by the lecturer, teaching to the jury.
Yes, and here, this is just to add a point here. The jury will be a mix of faculty members, but also certified assessors, because the certification will be, you know, granted only to the best, of course, participants who will show outstanding capacity to analyze business models and be very, let's say, intransigent and ethical and all the, you know, all the requirements of high standard work.
I think this course is also important for pipeline managers of business engine networks.
Sure.
Because you know, OECD statistics show that 1.2% of entrepreneurs are able to reach angel investor money, and almost half of the startups applications are eliminated at the email level. I mean, someone is deciding not to proceed with the application. So this someone is generally the pipeline manager or his or her assistant. So I think it is a big responsibility for these people to decide to proceed or not with the application of the startups. By the way, sorry. By the way, we have, you know, the global fundraising stage every February. And next global fundraising stage will be on 21st of February before the World Congress ends. So we have scorers, and we are receiving around 3,000 applications every year. and we have an online system, and the applicant's executive summary is automatically distributed to 5 scorers, and the mean of these 5 scorers are delivered as a category result to applicants, category A, B, or C. So I think it will be also good in the future to ask a startup assessor certificate from all scorers in the startup economy, because at the end of the day, these scorers are deciding about giving a decision about the future of these business ventures, of these startup ventures. Monter, what do you think about how startups can also be ready for startup assessors?
Let's say that it depends on the stage you are. If you are a mature startup and you just need to understand what are the, let's say, the possibility to leverage new strategies for growth, you can also go through this course without necessarily having in mind to be an assessor. It's just for internal teams to better understand what is a business model, and to have a common language, you see, just to reduce the gap internally, because it's about performance. After all, we are talking about the performance of a startup and how it can grow up very quickly and with a clear vision of the internal capacity to rely on its resources, internal resources, and this is very important. Now, some big companies also are looking to the startup way, and I already get some discussion with the top CEO of the big companies, very interested by the startup way. So it could be also a manner for them to have this culture of startuppers, and to start learning about how to rebuild their business. So they are just looking in this digital economy, how to transform their business models. And this is, I think, very, very hot topic for everyone.
Yes, exactly. Monter, startups and entrepreneurs, I think, should also understand the mindset of assessors. I think it will be very helpful if they if they understand the mindset and assessment criteria. So they will be more successful while making pitching or while preparing their business plans or business models. But you said preparing a business plan is not important. The result is important. I completely agree with you, because everybody can fill in the Excel sheet with good numbers. And by the way, until now, I have never seen a business plan which is showing a bad result. I mean, on the paper. I have never. All business plans are showing investors that they will be, they will make the exit in the next 3 years with minimum 10 multipliers. This is what the business plans are showing. Right. But of course, the good thing is angel investors have also entrepreneurial backgrounds. And once upon a time, they also prepared these business plans, maybe. And they know how they are prepared. So they know they shouldn't trust so much in what they see in the business plans and invest according to this knowledge. So we have a due diligence process. Due diligence process is a matter of fact cross-checking the reliability, objectivity, and validity of the numbers presented by entrepreneurs in the business plans. So I'm thanking you so much for your efforts, Monter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining the WBA Business School. I am sure Certified Startup Assessor course will be very instrumental in early stage equity markets. I'm inviting now all participants to go to WBA Business School page and go to course contents part and download the Startup Assessor course. More detail is included in this document. Go to registration part, please, and have an idea about the course price. If you have any questions, then please find Monter through LinkedIn or send an email to Business School Secretary, and let's keep in touch. Monter, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.